Do you need to prepare for the Praxis 5081 Social Studies Content Knowledge Exam? This video will give you the confidence and strategies you need to succeed. I'm Elizabeth, a college professor and test prep expert with Study.com. Together, we'll break down practice questions, identify context clues, and avoid common traps so you can walk into test day fully prepared. The Praxis 5081 is designed to make sure you have the core knowledge and skills needed to confidently teach social studies to young learners. The exam focuses on 6 major content areas: United States history, world history, government, civics, and political science, geography, economics, and behavioral sciences. We'll walk through real practice questions, explain the correct answers, and show why the others are wrong. Stick around to the end for important exam information. All right, let's get into it. Which of the following best explains how the introduction of African slavery transformed the economy of the southern colonies in the 17th century? Would it be A, it encouraged diversification into manufacturing and commerce? B, it facilitated the development of plantation agriculture centered on cash crops? C, it reduced conflicts with Native Americans over labor practices? Or D, it accelerated the decline of transatlantic trade with Europe? For a question like this, you will want to review trade practices and the economic foundations of slavery in the colonies. Also, I want to point out to watch for terms like best explains. That phrase signals that you should focus on the biggest historical shift, not side effects. With that in mind, we can go ahead and eliminate the incorrect options first, starting with option A. Option A would not be the best choice because it says slavery encouraged manufacturing and commerce. That doesn't line up historically. The South was still agrarian at this point, not industrialized. Next, we can eliminate option C. This choice suggests that it reduced conflicts with Native Americans, but tensions with Native Americans actually continued, so that wouldn't be correct. We can eliminate option D, since it argues that slavery accelerated the decline of transatlantic trade, but in fact, it expanded that trade as crops flowed to Europe and enslaved people were brought across the Atlantic. So that means our correct choice is option B. It facilitated the development of plantation agriculture centered on cash crops. Slavery made plantation agriculture possible on a large scale, especially for cash crops like tobacco, rice, and eventually cotton. That plantation system defines the Southern economy for centuries. Which of the following best explains why the Stamp Act of 1765 angered many colonists? Would it be A, it placed taxes on imported goods such as tea and sugar? B, it required colonists to provide housing and supplies for British soldiers? C, it was imposed without colonial representation in Parliament? Or D, it banned colonial assemblies from issuing their own currency? In this question, we're focusing on the Stamp Act of 1765, and you're going to want to brush up on the series of British acts in the 1760s and how they affected colonial life. With that in mind, let's go through our options. We can begin by eliminating choice A. This choice is talking about taxes on tea and sugar, which describes the Sugar Act, not the Stamp Act. We can rule out option B because it points to colonists being required to house soldiers. That was known as the Quartering Act. Option D says it banned colonial assemblies from printing their own money, and that was known as the Currency Act, so that would not be our best choice. That means the correct choice was option C. The Stamp Act of 1765 angered many colonists because it was imposed without colonial representation in Parliament. Colonists felt their rights were being violated, hence the famous phrase, "no taxation without representation." Which of the following was a direct consequence of the U.S. acquisition of the Mexican Cession, 1848? Would it be A, the immediate admission of California as a free state without controversy? B, renewed debates over the expansion of slavery into new territories? C, the beginning of Reconstruction in the South? Or D, the end of conflicts with Native American groups in the Southwest? Questions like this require you to review different wars, such as the Mexican-American War, the Mexican Cession, and the Compromise of 1850. As a strategy, I would suggest using chronology to eliminate options that clearly happened too early or too late for this timeline. Let's go ahead and take a look at our different answer options, starting with choice A. We can rule out this choice because it claims that California's admission was immediate and uncontested, but actually it became a heated part of the Compromise of 1850. Next, we can rule out option C because it refers to Reconstruction, which didn't even start until after the Civil War ended in 1865. We can eliminate option D, the end of conflicts with Native American groups in the Southwest. That would not be the best choice because conflicts with Native Americans continued long after 1848. The correct choice would be option B, renewed debates over the expansion of slavery into new territories. The Mexican Cession reignited sectional conflict, leading to the Compromise of 1850. This dispute pushed the nation closer to the Civil War. Which political innovation is most associated with classical Athens? Would it be A system of representative democracy with elected officials? B, a caste system that determined political participation? C, a bureaucracy headed by a centralized emperor? Or D, a direct democracy in which citizens voted on laws? As a strategy for questions such as this, watch out for phrases like most associated with. Here you're being asked to tie an idea to its historical home. With that in mind, let's look at our different choices. We can begin by eliminating choice A because it describes representative democracy, which is more aligned with Rome and modern systems like the US. Next, we can eliminate option B because it's referring to a caste system, which belongs to India's history, not Greece. Then we can eliminate option C because it refers to a centralized emperor, which is more aligned with Persia or China. That means the correct answer is choice D, direct democracy. In Athens, citizens themselves voted on laws, a system that is very different from our representative democracy today. Which of the following was a major consequence of the Treaty of Versailles, 1919? Would it be A, it established the League of Nations but weakened Germany economically and politically? B, it immediately ended European colonial empires worldwide? C, it required the United States to join World War II? Or D, it abolished all forms of monarchy in Europe? As a strategy for a question like this, you will want to understand the Treaty of Versailles' economic, political, and psychological effects, as well as eliminating answers that are tied to much later historical events. With those ideas in mind, let's go ahead and explore our options. Choice B says it ended colonial empires. We know that's not going to be correct because colonial empires lasted until after World War II. Next, we can eliminate choice C. This option connects the Treaty of Versailles to U.S. entry into World War II, which wasn't until 1941. Too far ahead. Next, we can eliminate option D. This choice suggests the treaty abolished all monarchies, but Britain and others have kept their monarchies, so we know that's not correct. The correct choice is option A. The Treaty of Versailles did create the League of Nations, but it also imposed crippling reparations on Germany, fueling resentment and instability. Which political philosopher argued that government legitimacy comes from the general will of the people? Would it be A, Thomas Hobbes, B, John Locke, C, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, or D, Montesquieu? A study focus for a question such as this would be to review the main contributions of Enlightenment thinkers. When you see key phrases like general will, you can connect them directly with the philosopher most associated with that key phrase. With that as our focus, let's go ahead and eliminate the incorrect philosophers, starting with Thomas Hobbes. Choice A, Thomas Hobbes, would not be correct. Hobbes argued for absolute monarchy because he thought people needed order above all. Next, we can eliminate choice B. John Locke emphasized natural rights, like life, liberty, and property. We can also eliminate option D, Montesquieu. This would not be the best option because Montesquieu was best known for separation of powers. That means the correct choice is option C, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Rousseau famously said, "Governments are only legitimate if they reflect the general will of the people." Which type of government is characterized by a concentration of power in a single ruler who is not constitutionally responsible to the public? Would it be A, autocracy, B, parliamentary democracy, C, federal republic, or D, confederation? This question is simply asking you to match the definition directly to the term. It's a vocabulary test in disguise. With that in mind, let's look for the most appropriate option. We can begin by eliminating choice B. Parliamentary democracy relies on elected officials and legislatures, so that's not the correct choice. We can eliminate option C, federal republic, because that splits powers between national and state governments. We can eliminate option D. Confederation describes a loose union of states. That leaves us with the correct choice, option A, autocracy. In an autocracy, power rests in the hands of one person who is not bound by a constitution or the will of the people. Which of the following best demonstrates federalism in the United States? Would it be A, the federal government and states share authority over education and transportation? B, the president vetoes a law passed by Congress? C, Congress impeaches a federal judge? Or D, citizens vote in a presidential election? As a study focus, I would suggest reviewing the Constitution's division of powers as well as your amendments, and then separate federalism from checks and balances when reviewing a question like this, since it's a common trap. With that in mind, let's go ahead and eliminate the incorrect options, starting with option B. The president vetoes a law passed by Congress. Presidential vetoes are reflective of checks and balances, so that would not be the best option. Next, we can eliminate option C. Congress impeaches a federal judge. Impeachment is also referring to checks and balances. Now let's get rid of option D. Citizens vote in a presidential election. Voting is a democratic principle, but this is not referring to federalism. This leaves us with the best answer, which is option A. The federal government and states share authority over education and transportation. This is the division of powers in action. Federalism is the division of powers between national and state and local governments, allowing both levels to govern certain areas simultaneously. Which of the following best illustrates the concept of relative location? Would it be A, the coordinates 40 degrees north, 74 degrees west for New York City? B, describing New York City as northeast of Philadelphia? C, a climate map showing average rainfall in New York City? Or D, a topographic map of New York City's elevation? As a strategy for a question like this, look for relational words such as near, north of, or adjacent to. When studying, focus on geography terms like absolute versus relative location. With that in mind, let's go ahead and eliminate the incorrect choices, starting with option A. These coordinates give an absolute location, and that's not what we're looking for here. Next up, we can eliminate option C, a climate map showing average rainfall in New York City. That answer is referring to climate, not location. Now we can eliminate option D. A topographic map is describing elevation, which is also not what we're looking for here. The correct answer is B, describing New York City as northeast of Philadelphia. That is describing relative location because it defines a place compared to another place, rather than using exact coordinates. Which of the following best explains why major cities are often located near rivers or coastlines? Would it be A, waterways facilitate trade, transportation, and access to resources? B, rivers and coastlines provide natural barriers against foreign invasion? C, coastal areas have fewer environmental hazards than inland regions? Or D, Urban centers develop only in regions with abundant rainfall. For a question such as this, I would focus my studying on human geography and settlement patterns. When you're reviewing a question like this, look for economic explanations because that usually drives city growth. Let's go ahead and eliminate the incorrect options first, starting with choice B. Rivers and coastlines provide natural barriers against foreign invasion. This is a bonus, but not the main reason why people would settle near rivers and coastlines. Next, we can eliminate option C. Coastal areas have fewer environmental hazards than inland regions. But coastlines are often hazardous with storms and flooding, so we know that's an incorrect option. Lastly, let's eliminate option D. Urban centers develop only in regions with abundant rainfall. This choice focuses on rainfall, which is not a guarantee of city growth. That means our best choice is option A. Waterways facilitate trade, transportation, and access to resources. This statement is true, which is why cities grew there historically. Rivers and coastlines provide transportation routes, trade opportunities, and access to water resources. Which of the following best explains why a price floor above the equilibrium price can lead to a surplus? Would it be A, producers reduce supply when prices are high? B, consumers demand more of the good at higher prices? C, producers supply more than consumers are willing to buy? Or D, the government imposes taxes on goods? For this question, try to visualize the graph. Above equilibrium, demand will drop while supplies rise. Familiarize yourself with supply and demand curves as well as government price interventions. Let's go ahead and eliminate the incorrect choice options, starting with option A. Producers reduce supply when prices are high. That is the opposite of what we're looking for. Producers actually increase supply more when prices are high. Next, we can eliminate option B. This choice actually says that consumers are demanding more at higher prices, which doesn't make sense. Demand usually falls when prices rise. Next, we can eliminate option D, the government imposes taxes on goods. In this scenario, taxes are unrelated to price floors. The correct answer is C. Producers supply more than consumers are willing to buy. A price floor above equilibrium raises the price, encouraging producers to supply more while consumers buy less, thus creating a surplus. If a country is experiencing high inflation, which of the following actions is the most likely monetary policy response by its central bank? Would it be A, decrease interest rates to encourage borrowing? B, reduce taxes to stimulate consumer spending? C, increase government spending on infrastructure? Or D, increase interest rates to reduce the money supply? When you see monetary in a question like this, think interest rates and money supply, not taxes or spending. You're going to want to focus your studying on differentiation between monetary and fiscal policy. So let's reason this out carefully. We can eliminate choice A, decrease interest rates to encourage borrowing. Decreasing interest rates in this scenario would encourage more spending, making inflation worse. So that's not the best choice. Next, we can eliminate choice B, reduce taxes to stimulate consumer spending. Reducing taxes is fiscal policy and would also stimulate demand, so not the best choice in this scenario. Finally, we can eliminate option C, increase government spending on infrastructure. An increase in government spending would also be indicative of fiscal policy. So that leaves us with the best choice, option D, increase interest rates to reduce the money supply. Raising interest rates makes borrowing more expensive, slows spending, and will bring inflation down. Which of the following is the best example of cultural diffusion? A, the adoption of sushi restaurants in the United States. B, a community banning foreign television programs. C, a nation enforcing a single official language? Or D, a region maintaining traditional farming methods unchanged? When studying for a question like this, you will want to review cultural diffusion and look for examples of food, fashion, language, or religion spreading across cultures, since cultural diffusion is a blending and adaptation of cultural elements over time. With that in mind, let's eliminate the incorrect options, starting with choice B, a community banning foreign television programs. Banning foreign television programs actively prevents cultural diffusion, so we would not make this choice. Next, we can eliminate option C. A nation enforcing a single official language limits cultural exchange and would not be indicative of cultural diffusion. We will also eliminate option D, a region maintaining traditional farming methods unchanged. This would keep traditions the same, showing continuity, not diffusion, which means our best choice here is option A, the adoption of sushi restaurants in the United States. That's one culture adopting practices from another, so it is the best example of cultural diffusion. Which of the following best illustrates the concept of role conflict? Would it be A, a teacher struggling to balance responsibilities as an educator and a parent? B, a student learning new information in a classroom? C, an employee following company rules without question? Or D, a person deciding which career path to pursue? As a strategy, I want you to spot the example where two obligations clash at the same time. Sociology concepts of role conflict versus role strain are a good thing to focus on when studying for a question like this. Keeping those things in mind, let's review our options. We can begin by eliminating option B. A student learning new information in a classroom doesn't involve any conflicting roles. Next, we're going to eliminate option C. An employee following company rules without question would be considered compliance. No role conflict here. We can go ahead and eliminate option D. A person deciding which career path to pursue is role choice, not conflict. That leaves us with the best choice, which is option A, a teacher struggling to balance responsibilities as an educator and a parent. That's two roles pulling in different directions, which is indicative of role conflict. Which of the following best illustrates the concept of socialization? Would it be A, an adult choosing a career based solely on personal preference? B, a tourist following a travel guide in a foreign country? C, a child learning language and manners from family and peers? Or D, a student memorizing facts for a math exam? You should review the primary agents of socialization and then look for the example where society is shaping the individual's behavior. With that in mind, let's break down these options and pick the best one. We can begin by eliminating option A, an adult choosing a career based solely on personal preference. This option refers to a career choice, which is an individual preference, not illustrating socialization. Next, we can eliminate choice B. A tourist following a travel guide in a foreign country is situational, not internal learning of a culture. Option D would not be the best choice either, since memorizing facts for a test is indicative of academic learning, not socialization. That means our best option is C, a child learning language and manners from family and peers. That's the essence of socialization, internalizing norms and values. It's the process through which individuals learn these behaviors of their society. Give yourself a pat on the back for reviewing all of those Praxis 5081 social studies questions. Now that you've worked through some questions, let's focus on the competency that this test is really measuring. If you're an aspiring secondary school teacher, there's a chance you'll need to pass the Praxis Social Studies Content Knowledge exam to get licensed and secure your first full-time teaching job. The exam is computer delivered and gives you 2 hours to complete 130 questions, so time management is critical. Most of the questions you'll see are standard multiple choice, just pick the best answer out of 4 options. There will also be multi-select and drag and drop questions, as well as questions where you click on parts of a graphic, enter a number, or even select a specific sentence in a passage. One key tip, there's no penalty for wrong answers on the Praxis, so never leave a question blank. Always give it your best shot, even if that means you're guessing when you're short on time. Use smart testing strategies like eliminating wrong choices or looking for clues in the question itself. 20% of the test covers U.S. history, 20% of the test covers world history, and another 20% of the test covers government, civics, and political science. Geography makes up 15% of the exam, economics makes up another 15%, and behavioral sciences rounds it out at 10%. In order to prepare, test takers should be sure to learn about the exam, utilize a range of study tools, and organize their study time. If you need more support, Study.com has prep courses that include full-length practice exams, hundreds of realistic questions, and short video lessons to keep your studying focused. And 92% of users who use our courses pass their exams, so why not you? Got questions or need help with another competency? Drop them in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if this video helped you, give it a like and subscribe for more targeted test prep. Thanks for watching and good luck. You've got this.